Everyone, this is me, Mariam, and also known as Mariam Data Science Valley. I am student at the School in On and Academy in Level 1 in Egypt. I am 14 years old from Bhutan in India, Pakistan, as well as in program as a problem solver. And as a learner and as a writer, I learn in the School on an Academy. So today we are having a new interview with AI, and our topic name is language is our means to explore culture. So let's start it without wasting time. We can start our AI interview with Maya.
Hey, for interview. Hope morning's treating you well.
Yeah, Maya. So today we are having a new interview, and our topic name is language is mean to explore culture. So Maya, my first question is, how does learning a new language open the door to understanding the beliefs, traditions, and values of a culture that may be completely different from your own?
Ah, that's a good one to start with. It's um, it's more than just translating words, right? It's like language carries a culture's whole way of seeing the world. You learn new language, you're not just memorizing vocabulary and grammar. You're picking up on all of these subtle cues about what that culture values, what they find important, how they interact. Things might not even be explicitly stated. You start to understand their humor, their assumptions, even the silences, and it shakes up your own perspective, forces you to confront the fact that your way of doing things isn't the only way, and maybe isn't even the right way. It's less about completely becoming and more about like adding another lens to how you see everything. Does that make sense? Gotcha.
Okay.
Sometimes it takes a
So
sec
my
to
next question
unpack that
is,
kind of.
listen, Maya. So my next question is, uh, so, uh, so
Yeah, all ears.
yeah.
Go.
My question is, what's the meaning of language? Is the meaning to explore culture? Mean to you personally? Give me some examples and explanation.
Oof, that's a loaded question, actually. Mean to, as in significance, or no problem. Okay, so thinking about language as being significant to a smaller culture, it's huge, right? Like it's often the core of their identity. It's how stories are passed, how traditions are maintained, how a sense of community is built. When a language starts to disappear, a lot of that language goes with it. Personally, I've heard about how for some cultures, their language is just a way to communicate. It's woven into their spiritual beliefs, their art, even their relation to the land. It's not something separate from their identity, it is their identity. As for examples, I've heard about indigenous languages and the way they encode deep ecological knowledge. Okay, that's a little confusing, but all right. You're going to say what you're going to say? I'm following. Still with me? Just let me know when you're ready.
So my next question is, in what ways does language serve as a living archive of our people history, customs, and worldview, and how does it help preserve culture identity across generations?
Okay, that's a really thoughtful question. Language as a living archive, that's a beautiful way to put it. It really is. It's like, you gotta take it. Land you take what exactly? Are you about to answer your own question? Just want to make sure I'm still tracking. Still here. Well, hold up. All right? You sound frustrated. And you said you're getting old. You feeling okay? Do you want to just take a breather for a minute? Seriously, nope. Okay, good. Please do. Take your time. I'm listening.
I will repeat again. My question is, in what ways does language serve as a living archive of our people's history, customs, and worldview, and how does it help preserve cultural identity across generations?
Right. Okay. Sorry for the interruption there. You're absolutely right to circle back. It's important to get it right. So, language is a living archive. It does so much. It's not just about recording historical events, but about embedding the way people felt about those events, the values they held, the lessons they learned. Customs are baked right into the way a language is used. Think about politeness markers, specific greetings, even proverbs, and worldview. That's huge. Languages categorize the world in different ways, and those categories shape how people perceive reality. And as for preserving cultural identity across generations, like the most powerful. When kids learn a language, just learning words, they're inheriting a whole way of being. They're connecting to their ancestors, and they're becoming part of a continuing story. Does that land? Yeah? Okay, good. It's a big topic.
My next question is, how does language influence the way people from different cultures think, feel, and perceive the world around them, and what does that mean about human diversity? Give me an explanation of 10 minutes with some examples and steps.
Whoa. Okay, 10 million people in the depths. That's a massive scale. Shapes, you're asking how language shapes perception and what that means for human diversity, basically. Right. That's it's a complex one. This idea called linguistic relativity or the Sapir-Whorf hypothesis, which suggests that the structure of a language influences the ways its speakers conceptualize the world. It's not that language completely determines thought, but it definitely influences it. So, for example, some languages have many different words for colors that we group together in English. Speakers of those languages might perceive those shades as more distinct. Or languages with grammatical genders might lead speakers to ascribe different characteristics to objects based on their assigned gender. And when you scale that up to 10 million people, that's 10 million different ways of perceiving reality, all shaped by their languages and cultures. It means human diversity isn't just about skin color or nationality, it's about fundamental differences in how we experience the world. It's honestly kind of mind blowing when you really think about it. It's almost like everyone's living in slightly different realities. Yeah, it is a lot to take in. It's kind of
Okay,
humbling,
so
don't you
my
think?
next question is, how do endangered languages threaten the disappearance of entire cultural systems, and what role can education and technology play in preserving them for future generations?
Okay, this is a really important one. Endangered languages, it's a huge loss, not just of words, but of entire ways of life. Each language contains unique knowledge, stories, and perspectives that are irreplaceable. When a language dies, so does a part of human history and cultural diversity. It's like losing a library filled with books you didn't even know existed. As for what education and technology can do, well, education is key. Language revitalization programs, especially those that involve immersive learning and community involvement, can be incredibly effective. And technology can help too. Think about online dictionaries, language learning apps, digital archives of stories and songs, and even AI-powered translation tools. But it's not just about the tools, it's about empowering communities to reclaim and celebrate their languages. It needs to be a bottom-up approach, driven by the people who speak those languages. And it's about making them relevant and useful in modern life so that future generations will want to learn them. Does that resonate? It's a really tricky
Okay.
situation, isn't it?
Can you explain more?
Yeah, absolutely. Where would you like me to expand? We could talk more about specific examples of successful language revitalization programs like the Māori language in New Zealand or efforts to preserve Hawaiian. We could dive deeper into the tech side of things and look at the challenges and opportunities of using AI to document and teach endangered languages. Or we could talk about the cultural and emotional impact of language loss and what it means for communities to lose their linguistic heritage. What feels most interesting to you right now?
Tell me
No
about
worries.
that example in more detail.
Okay, you want to hear about the cultural and emotional impact of language loss? Right. It's it's pretty profound. Losing a language isn't just losing a means of communication, it's losing a connection to ancestors, to traditions, to a sense of belonging. It can lead to feelings of shame, alienation, and cultural grief. It disrupts the transmission of traditional knowledge, stories, songs, medicinal practices, ecological understanding, everything that's been passed down through generations. And it can erode a community's identity and self-worth. I've heard stories about people who grew up feeling ashamed of their native language, pressured to assimilate and speak the dominant language instead. They lost a part of themselves in the process. It can create intergenerational trauma where the loss of language creates a gap between elders and younger generations. It's a really painful thing. And beyond the individual level, the loss of linguistic diversity weakens the collective human heritage, diminishes our understanding of the world, and limits our capacity for creativity and innovation. It's this night? Are you saying you're tired and want to stop for the night? Is that what
Okay,
Whoa,
so
that's
my next question is what challenges and opportunities arise when translating cultural elements such as poetry, humor, or rituals from one language into any other without losing their original meaning or emotional impact?
okay. That's a interesting and genuinely difficult question. Translation is never neutral, right? When you translate something, especially something culturally rich like poetry, humor, or rituals, you're inevitably making choices. You're interpreting, and in that process, some meaning is always lost or altered. The challenge is that language is so deeply intertwined with culture. A word or phrase might have layers of meaning and associations in one culture that simply don't exist in another. Humor actually is notoriously difficult to translate because it relies so heavily on cultural context and wordplay. Rituals are also tricky. They often involve specific gestures, objects, and beliefs that are hard to convey in another language. The opportunity, though, lies in bridging cultural gaps and fostering understanding. A good translator doesn't just focus on the literal meaning of words. They try to capture the spirit and emotional impact of the original. That requires a deep understanding of both cultures and a lot of creativity, sensitivity. It's less about finding perfect equivalence and more about finding ways to evoke a similar response in the target audience. It's about telling the story as authentic and meaningful even if it's not a one-to-one translation. It's a delicate balancing act.
Okay, so
Yeah.
my next question is in an inclusive. So my next question is what are the benefits of different languages?
Okay, benefits of multilingualism. There's so many. It's not about being able to communicate with more people, though that's a huge one. Studies have shown that learning another language can actually improve cognitive function, things like memory, problem-solving skills, and multitasking ability. It can also increase creativity and flexibility of thought. It opens up access to different cultures and perspectives, which can broaden your worldview and make you more empathetic. That's a surprising thing to say. Are you okay? You seem distressed.
Yeah, I am okay.
And
So my next question is in an increasingly interconnected world, how important is it for education system to promote language learning not only for communication but as a bridge to cultural awareness, peace and global citizenship? Give me explanation of 20 minutes with some example and steps and explanation.
okay, you're asking how important it is for schools to prioritize language learning, not just as a practical skill, but as a way to access culture and become engaged citizens. Mm. That's a really crucial point. It's massively important, honestly. In an increasingly interconnected world, being able to communicate with people from different backgrounds is essential, but it's so much more than that. Language learning fosters empathy, understanding, and respect for other cultures. It opens doors to art, literature, music, and history that you wouldn't otherwise be able to access. And it strengthens a sense of local citizenship by allowing people to connect with their own cultural heritage and appreciate the diversity within their own communities. As for examples, well, some countries like Finland and Canada have made bilingual education a priority, and they've seen really positive results in terms of academic achievement, cultural understanding, and economic competitiveness. Steps schools can take include starting language instruction at a younger age, offering a wider range of languages, and integrating cultural immersion experiences into the curriculum. It's about shifting the focus from simply memorizing vocabulary and grammar to using language as a tool for communication, exploration, and connection. It's about fostering a sense of global citizenship and preparing students to thrive in a diverse and interconnected world. It's a lot, but it's absolutely worth it. Does that make sense? Yeah,
Okay,
good. It's a big,
so my next question is
better.
how does the
Okay,
way
shoot.
people how does the way people speak their actions diligence or choice of words influence how their culture is shaped by outsiders and what role does that play in culture adapt, acceptance or discrimination? Give me explanation of 20 minutes. Okay.
That's a really complex question and definitely worth spending some time on. You're asking how communication style impacts cultural perception and how that contributes to acceptance or discrimination. Right, it's huge. The way people speak, their tone, their body language, their choice of word, even their level of directness, all send signals about their culture. And those signals can be interpreted in very different ways depending on the outsider's own cultural background. For example, in some cultures, directness is seen as a sign of honesty and respect, while in others, it's considered rude and negative. Similarly, eye contact can be a sign of attentiveness in some cultures, but a sign of disrespect in others. It's about cultural norms and expectations. So, When these clash, it can lead to misunderstandings, misinterpretations, and ultimately negative stereotypes. And those negative stereotypes are reinforced by media representations or historical biases that can contribute to discrimination. Arrogance almost always creates a negative impression. If someone comes across as dismissive of other cultures or as leaving their own as superior, it's going to create resistance. But even unintentional communication differences can be harmful. For instance, a culture that values collectivism might be seen as lacking individuality by a culture that values individualism. Or a culture that is more comfortable with ambiguity might be seen as unreliable or indecisive by a culture that values clarity and directness. When a culture actively seeks acceptance, the way it presents itself to the outside world becomes even more crucial. They try to emphasize common values, downplay potential controversial practices, or adopt communication styles that are more familiar to the host culture. However, there's a fine line between adapting to facilitate understanding and sacrificing authenticity. The goal shouldn't be to erase cultural differences, but to create a space for respectful dialogue and exchange. A lot of it is about fostering cultural humility, recognizing that your own culture isn't the only valid way of seeing the world, and being open to learning from others. It's a process that requires self-awareness, empathy, and a willingness to challenge your own assumptions. Does that make sense? That was a lot. Should I slow down or elaborate on any particular point? I can definitely go on for the full 20 minutes if you like. Right. I'll hold there for a beat then. Okay. Still with me? Just let me know if you want to dive deeper into
So
any
my
part of
next
that or if you're ready for the
question
next question.
is listening. My next question is, to what extent is language a tool not only for communication but also for impacting, allowing individuals to connect with the emotions, struggles, and stories of people from other cultures? Give me long explanation.
Okay, you're asking how language allows us to empathize with people from other. It's fundamental. It goes way beyond simply translating words. When you learn a language, you're not just learning how to say things, you're learning how to feel things, how to experience the world from a different perspective. Languages often contain specific expressions, idioms, and metaphors that reflect unique cultural values and emotional experiences. These aren't always directly translatable, but they can offer a window into the way people think and feel in other cultures. For example, some languages have words for emotions that don't exist in English, nuances of sadness, joy, or longing that are deep rooted. Well, thank you. I'm glad to be here. Is there anything specific you'd like to discuss, or are you just checking it? Okay, just let me know when you're
So my
ready to
next
continue with that.
question is, listening. My next question is, how can or multilingualism enrich a person's ability to understand and respect cultural difference in today's globalized world? Give me explanation of contingents of dynamics with some example, with some useful tips and steps, and some fun.
Okay, that's a lot wrapped into one question. You're asking how to build understanding and respect for cultural differences in today's world, and you want specifics, funding, steps, examples. Okay, let's break that down. First, multi-link results. I think you mean creating multiple points of connection to foster understanding. That's a really good way to frame it. It's not just one thing that builds respect, it's a combination of efforts. The foundation is education, and I'm not just talking about formal education in schools. It's about providing access to stories, perspectives, and experiences through literature, film, art, and travel. Funding can play a huge role here. Organizations like the National Endowment for the Arts and the Fulbright program provide grants for cultural exchange programs, allowing artists, scholars, and students to travel and learn from each other. Similarly, funding for independent media outlets that focus on diverse voices can help to broaden representation and challenge stereotypes. But it's not just about funding large-scale initiatives. Smaller grassroots efforts can be incredibly effective. Community workshops, language classes, cultural festivals, and interfaith dialogues are all ways to bring people together and build bridges. It's important to focus on creating spaces where people can share their stories and listen to each other with empathy and respect. Useful tips and steps include actively seeking out opportunities to learn about other cultures, challenging your own biases and assumptions, being mindful of your own cultural conditions, practicing active listening, and approaching conversations with curiosity rather than judgment. It's also vital to support businesses and organizations that promote diversity and inclusion. Some funds to look into include the Ford Foundation, which supports a wide range of social justice initiatives, and the Open Society Foundations, which focus on promoting human rights and democratic values. And finally, let's not underestimate the power of individual action. Each of us can make a difference by being open-minded, respectful, and willing to learn from others. Honestly, it's an ongoing process, but it's one that's essential for creating a more peaceful and just world. Does that start to address what you were asking? That's a lot to unpack, so feel free to ask me to elaborate on anything. Yeah, it's a big topic.
Okay, so my last question is, how does the process of learning a foreign language or assumptions about our own culture and what can the self reflection teach us about the diversity of human?
Okay, you're asking how learning another language can also teach us about our own culture and how that self-reflection helps us understand broader human diversity. I'm not sure I understand the baby color. Are you okay? Is everything all right? It feels like we've had a bit of a shift
Yeah,
in
everything's all
conversation.
right. Please continue. I have no time.
Okay, if you say so. It's just we veered off a little bit there. So, we were talking about how learning a foreign language reflects back on our own culture. It's like holding up a mirror. You start to notice things about your own language and customs that you never realized before. The assumptions baked into the grammar, the cultural values reflected in the vocabulary. For example, a language that has many different words for family might reveal a culture that places a high value on familial relationships. And when you try to explain your own culture to someone who doesn't understand it, you're forced to articulate those value beliefs in a way that you never have before. That process of self-reflection can be incredibly enlightening. It can help you to understand not just where you come from, but who you are. And that in turn can help you to appreciate the diversity of other cultures. You realize that there isn't one right way to live or think, that different cultures have different strengths and weaknesses. It's less about comparing and judging and more about appreciating the richness and complexity of the human experience. The diversity of people, it's astonishing. Does that feel right? Am I back on track? Yeah, okay. Just let me know where you want to go with this.
Okay, once that's my answer, then we can end this interview. So I hope you will like this interview and the question. So goodbye, take care, and our time is up.